Hi everybody, welcome back to Movement Monday. Today we're going to take a brief look at the lunge, one of my favorite single leg exercises. So there are of course plenty of regressions for this and progressions, but we're just going to take a look at the exercise of the lunge. And when we say lunge, we're talking about just a regular forward lunge in a static position, so not walking. So staying in place, stepping forward, and then coming back. So most of the points of performance for everything involved in a regular lunge is going to translate over to all the other progressions and or regressions. So with that, let's just take a look at a demonstration of the lunge. So like everything else, I want to have a neutral spine. I want to have my weight placed generally in my heels, nice tight core. All those things basically are going to be across the board for most of the movements that we do. So again, here's the lunge. Feet generally right underneath the hips, and I want to step forward. I want to step forward far enough so that my shin is perpendicular or vertical to the ground. I also want my torso or my chest or my trunk, my spine, to also be perpendicular to the ground as well. And I want that to be maintained throughout the entirety of the movement. I'm going to push off my heel to my standing position. So watch out, because I don't want my back to sway as I step up. That's probably a lack of core control, maybe an issue going on with the glutes potentially, but I'd primarily say that if you're concentrating on a really tight core and staying nice and upright, you'll fix the problem of sway back in your lunge. And you should maybe film yourself, because you won't know you're doing that unless you watch or have somebody watch, okay? So the only thing that should be moving is basically your leg as it steps forward. Your legs, I should say. Again, just watch out for that knee, making sure it doesn't come too far forward of the toe. That's okay, but over time we want reps to be generally coming through the posterior chain, which basically requires that we're pushing off the heels. Still getting a really good quad stimulus, but we want to develop some butt activation through pressing through the heel. So again, I'm going to press up and off, back into position. Something people generally have an issue with is balance with the lunges, and that's typically because they will step in too much of a straight line and they'll be, out of balance. And we don't want that. So what I like to tell people is keep your feet like they're on train tracks and step in line with where your foot originally is underneath your hips. That way you'll feel a lot more stable and more confident in that exercise. So, to recap, chest stays up tall. You're basically just splitting your legs and making sure that the back doesn't move, it doesn't sway when you're coming back to the original starting position. So, chest is up tall, spine is nice and neutral, it's not arched, it's not rounded, it's just neutral. Weight stays primarily in the heel, okay? Once you step down, that shin should be vertical, okay? We definitely don't want to see that shin that heel too close to this knee. That means it's too far back. And we don't want to see this. It means it's too far out in front. So kind of the Goldilocks zone is to be having the shin completely perpendicular to the ground. Okay? And that's what we want. So that's just a brief overview of some technique and some form for the lunge. So whether you're doing that with the barbell or dumbbells or kettlebells, whatever, all those things apply to that. Same thing with the split squat. So if you're doing a split squat variation, all those points of performance generally will apply to that as well. Same thing with the step up too. So we'll get into that with some later videos. Anyway, that's the lunge for you. Happy Monday.